Okay, so I got a question here on live chat. How do I really feel about Cambodian culture? And I just made a lengthy set of declarations that I don't want to make a video about all the things I dislike about Cambodian culture. I'm not saying hate. I'm saying dislike. I don't want to make a video about all the reasons why I never wake up in the morning and wish I was back in Cambodia. I never want to go back in Cambodia. I regret that I ever moved to Cambodia. I regret that I ever lived in Cambodia. I regret that I ever studied the Cambodian languages. Regret. Never want to go back. Don't like anything about it. Blah, 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 blah. But this also inspires me to try to say one nice thing about Cambodia and Cambodian culture. If you're seriously interested in social science research, in studying social problems, culture, politics, anything, Cambodians are the greatest people in the world for sharing with you the kind of information that in other cultures you can't get out of people, things you cannot learn by asking questions in other cultures. Like, I was doing research in Cambodia, and you go up to people and ask, like, oh, hey, I'm researching problems in the healthcare system here. You know, we hear there are some problems with the local hospital, and they cover up some of the problems. You know, what do you know about that kind of thing? And people be like, oh, yeah, they murdered my son. Let me tell you the story. Like, straight up, no hesitation, no lack of self-confidence. They'll sit down and talk you through the story of how this fucking hospital, how incompetent people at the hospital murdered their son and covered it up afterwards. For social science research, it's mind-blowing. You can't, like, in England, you can't walk into a town in Scotland or England and just ask people that question and verbally get this kind of information. You'd have to spend hours and hours getting the people to trust you. You'd probably have to sign legal forms. You'd probably have to make promises to them and say, okay, don't worry, this is going to be anonymous. We're going to use this for the study. We're going to investigate. You'd have to reassure people. The most sensitive, most dangerous, most useful information imaginable. People sit down and really lay it on the table with you. And like when you've just met them, they don't trust you. They don't know you. I remember once, and I had already discussed this with my wife, who's now my ex-wife. In case you haven't heard, we're divorced. Walked into a shop where there was a Cambodian woman, and she was in the tourism business. She was in the making arrangements for tourism business. And she'd never met me before. She'd never met my wife before. But I already explained to my wife, because my wife was an anthropologist. So anthropologists rely on this type of interview, this type of social science research, talking to people. And I said, look, this culture, it's unbelievable for exactly what you anthropologists do. Walking in the shop, I'm like, yeah, this is what I study, this is my background, this is my wife, she has a PhD in anthropology. We've been thinking about getting more involved with this university here. But, we hear it's corrupt. We hear there's corruption, like financial corruption inside the university. And, this other university, I'm not sure if it's better or worse. What do you think about that? And a woman sat there, and just for a couple of seconds, she looked at me and I said, oh, well, I don't have any opinion about that. If you were to ask me what I think about financial corruption inside the university, I would say to you, I don't know anything about that. Like, that's dangerous to talk about. I can't talk about that. I don't know anything about that. But because you've asked me my opinion, here's what I'm going to tell you. And then she laid into it. Like, after that completely surreal caveat, if anyone asks what I know about corruption inside the university, I don't know anything. I have no opinion. It's dangerous to talk about that. But now here's what I have to tell you. And she laid into it. And, like, this is better information. Like, I honestly think if you work with the police in America or England, you couldn't get people to provide you with this information. It's the nature of the information is secret, and it's sensitive, and it's complex. It's difficult to explain. It takes time to unpack, to say, okay, this is the problem. These people pay bribes to these people. This is what's going on. You get the whole fucking story laid out for you with passion and immediacy. And this is in English. In this case, in most of the research I did was through translators. It was in the Cambodian language we were talking. But this was in the fucking, this is what you're doing. And, my wife, she walked out of that conversation. I don't know, let's say we got like a 20-minute lecture from this woman we just met about financial corruption and how the universities were organized. Good luck in Canada, anywhere else getting this. And she was like, wow, like, I see what you're talking about. Like, this blows my mind. Like, wow, this is such an exciting place to do research on any kind of social science question. But I mean, anything like that, like racism, but I mean, medical science, like I was mentioning with the hospital, obviously like party politics, like what's going on within government, all kinds of stuff you can't research anywhere else. The Cambodians were so upfront and in your face and forthcoming with it. And it was inspiring. It made you want to be more of an honest person. You know what I mean? It made you, it's courage. It's courageous. It's having the courage to speak the truth when it matters. Right? That's what Cambodians have. But unfortunately, what it's linked to is arrogance. And one of the reasons why they'll say that to you is their extreme arrogance. And like, I gave a lecture. I was a scholar of Buddhism. I had so many years of studying Buddhism in Pali. And I remember there was one guy who came out. He was a Cambodian guy, but he spoke in English. My lecture was in English. It was in Cambodia. I give this lecture, and it's sophisticated and complex. And he was just waiting for his turn to talk. And when I stopped giving the lecture, he stood up, and he just starts giving his own lecture out of the audience. It has nothing to do with what I did. And it's very obvious to me immediately he knows nothing about Buddhism. He's not a scholar. He hasn't read any of these texts and so on. And I just stopped and said, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Why are you doing this? And I also pointed out that actually a couple of things he'd said already. He wanted to talk for an hour. I stopped him for him. Like, I'm sorry, that's textually wrong. That's historically wrong. That text is from 500 years later than this text. When you know your stuff in Buddhism, you can just destroy amateur opinions about Buddhism. But it's like, my real question is, why are you saying this? Why did you come to my lecture on Buddhism? But that's part of the same thing, right? That's the same culture of arrogance. This guy woke up in the morning and thought, oh, some foreign scholar of Buddhism is giving a lecture on Buddhist philosophy. I'm going to go and wait for my chance to give my own lecture to tell him a thing or two, because they're so fucking arrogant. They're so self-confident. They have that same desire to speak the truth when it matters, even when they don't know what they're talking about, even when they're speaking out of total ignorance. That, I mean, there's a self-righteous undercurrent to it. But yeah, for social science research, that's so thrilling, and I loved it. And with every project, I could not believe the type of data and the type of eyewitness information you get from people just by asking. So sure, that's a wonderful redeeming quality the Cambodian people have, and I wish Canadians could learn from it. But I say again, I never want to go back to Cambodia. I never wake up and wish I was in Cambodia. And I'll regret for the rest of my life that I ever studied the Cambodian language, that I ever moved to Cambodia, that I ever had anything to do with that country. In other ways, it's that bad. I'm leaving it that. It's really that bad.